Walter Carter here at Carter Vintage Guitars. Today with this poor maligned design disaster of a Telecaster from '52, or at least that's what they were beginning to think at Fender at that time. As revolutionary as the Tele was, they thought it could use some improvement. The most famous problem is this so-called slab body with sharp edges. Not only do they cut into your ribs there, or they could. You play for a long time, you're going to get a crease across your arm here too. And people at Gibson were referring to the Tele as a slab guitar or the toilet seat guitar. So they go to the design table. And here's what they come up with. More of a cutaway. 3 pickups, a switch for each, a master volume knob. Now compare this to Gibson's ES5, which at the time did have 3 pickups, but you had separate volume and tone controls for each, and no switch, so you're having to deal with 6 knobs. This is a lot simpler. 6 saddles, 1 for each string. Leo's worked long and hard to develop a vibrato that would have a truer return to pitch than the Bigsby, which was operated on a spring, and you really had no easy way to adjust it. Underneath here are 5 springs, and you can take some of them off to change the tension if you need to. So you don't cut into your ribs. Here's a scarf for your ribs, and then also a scarf here for arm comfort. This addresses everything you could address at the time on a Strat. Then the only question was, do we just call this the new Telecaster? Gibson's L4, for example, had gone through all kinds of changes through the years, from an oval hole to a round hole to F holes, and they still kept calling it the L4. But this was such a radical departure, and they didn't want to discontinue the Tele. It was really only popular among West Coast musicians, and they didn't want to lose that. It's a good thing they didn't, because it remained popular among country people and sort of the signature instrument and sound of West Coast country. But the Strat was put out just like this. Years later, they made that a 5-way switch. Pickguard has a couple more plies now. Optional rosewood fingerboard available today. Otherwise, pretty much the same guitar as it was then. They really got it right. And as with many advanced instruments, they didn't know what sound, what music this guitar was even going to be suited for. I'm sure they thought country, because the Tele was primarily a country and even limited to the West Coast. The Nashville guys played Gibsons at that time. The early rock and rollers played Gibsons also, Gibson hollow bodies. So it took Buddy Holly to pick up a Strat, Jimi Hendrix, Clapton, and it became really one of the more versatile guitars that was ever made. You know, most people think of it as a blues and rock and roll guitar. We got a lot of what the heck's going on when we had Julian Lodge do a video with a Strat. Unexpected things on it, very light and jazzy and really beautiful, tasteful music rather than blues or rock and roll. That proved that the Strat is one of the greatest, most versatile, best instrument designs ever made.